pen to paper to create the character destined to become the most famous detective ever. But the origins of Sherlock Holmes and the fascination that now surrounds him are just as intriguing as the stories themselves.
Over the years, Sherlock Holmes has been played by more actors than Miss Marples has had cream teas. In the company of his faithful friend and biographer, Dr. John Watson, he brought criminals to justice with methods ruled by science and logic. He came to life in 1887 from a story by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who had this to say about the legend he created.
It always annoyed me how in the old-fashioned detective story, the detective always seemed to get at his results either by some sort of lucky chance or a fluke, or else it was quite unexplained how he got there. He got there, but he never gave an explanation how. Well, that didn't seem to me quite playing the game. It seemed to me that he's bound to give his reasons why he came to his conclusions. Well, once I began to think about this, I began to think of turning scientific methods, as it were, onto the work of detection.
As a small boy, Arthur Doyle was sent from Edinburgh to school at Stonyhurst College in Lancashire. Readers can see how the buildings and personalities of Stonyhurst were reflected in Doyle's writing. For instance, one of Holmes' greatest enemy,
Professor Moriarty.
Oh, Moriarty. Do you know, Holmes, he's the one subject on which I believe you're utterly mistaken.
No mistake, my dear Watson.
That harmless old professor of mathematics.
That harmless old professor of mathematics, as you call him, is the brains behind the biggest criminal organization in Europe.
Whether he got the name from here is quite uncertain. We find two Moriartys, in fact, and they both get mathematical prizes. First, John Moriarty, and the other one was a Michael Moriarty. I can't remember whether he's a brother or not.
And if there was a Moriarty, there was also a Baskerville Hall. The school itself. The character of Holmes has generated stories, novels, hundreds of feature and TV films, and even a successful Sherlock Holmes fan club. He's become larger than life, and larger even than the man who dreamt him onto the page.
Well, the curious thing is how many people there are in the world who are perfectly convinced that he is a living human being. I get letters addressed to him. I get letters asking for his autograph. Get letters addressed to his rather stupid friend, Watson. I've even had ladies writing to say that they'd be very glad to act as his housekeeper.
Even today, little on that score has changed. At Holmes's old address, 221B Baker Street, thousands of letters arrive every year. The only thing is, these days, it's the address of a building society.
They're from all over the world, from the States, Pakistan, India, the Eastern Bloc countries. We've had letters from just about everywhere in the world, I reckon, over the last 4 years. And they're all ages, all types. They're just all Sherlock Holmes fans.
And the success of the Super Sleuth continues into the 1990s. This time, the dynamic duo are played by Jeremy Brett and Edward Hardwicke.
Action!
Well, joining us now are Jeremy Brett and, as Conan Doyle might have said, his rather stupid friend, Edward Hardwicke. Holmes and Watson in ITV's latest series. You see, this is interesting, because you're carrying on the tradition in the Granada series of playing Watson as an intelligent man. And yet we just heard Conan Doyle. I didn't clock it before, but we just heard Conan Doyle saying he's a rather stupid man. But he didn't write him as a stupid man, did he?
Well, I'm glad I didn't see that before we started.
You'd have sued him for libel.
You can base your entire interpretation of the character differently.
Right.
What do you think?
Don't you think he wrote... The letters were saying he was stupid, but in actual fact...
I think that's what he meant, yeah.
And that he wasn't stupid, but that's the way they'd picked him up.
Precisely, yes, exactly.
That's let you off the hook.
No, I think that's what he meant.
Or Doyle off the hook.
But it's true, though, isn't it, that Watson traditionally was played as a bit of a dimwit, you know, and a psychic, and that's completely, that's gone now. I mean, your predecessor, David Burke, and now you are carrying on a new tradition of playing him as a bit of a clever clogs.
That was Michael Cox's idea, our producer, who wanted to put literature straight. I think that's why the series originally was thought of.
Yes.
Difficult, though, is it, for you to sort of inject... I mean, because he is, isn't he, always so subservient to Holmes. Holmes always has the upper hand in every scene.
Well, I mean, Watson writes the stories. I mean, the assumption is that he's writing or keeping the record. And I mean, Holmes is a genius. It's an interesting idea that you have a fictional genius. I think one of the few writers that has created a fictional genius. And I think anybody's going to be stupid or seem to be a bit slow by comparison.
Yes, absolutely.
Inevitably.
This is the third time that we've spoken to you, Jeremy. How many years is it now since you've been playing Holmes? Is it
I was asked in
9?
82 and started in 83.
Yes, yes. 8 or 9 years. Has it been, as Judy was saying earlier, a kind of a journey of discovery? I mean, do you now see him differently than you did 4 years ago and
Yes.
from that 4 years before?
I see him as the elusive Pimpernel still, just in front of me. I can't catch him.
Can't catch him.
I think that's why I find it so fascinating to play, because I can't reach him. It is the most fascinating part I've ever played.
I loved what Conan Doyle was saying in the tape earlier, that he was saying that he started writing Sherlock Holmes because he got incredibly irritated with the detective stories he was reading, which is, I suppose, the sort of the Agatha Christie type thing, really, which is sort of like there is an immediate sort of, there is a sudden happening which says, aha, we therefore know the truth, or there's no clear deductive process. What fascinated him was the deductions.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's what fascinates you, isn't it, and always has done.
I think that it's always been the thing that has fascinated me about him, was the fact that he not only has brilliant logic, brilliant observation, he also has a brilliant feminine intuition, which, looking at Doyle with that great woof moustache, you'd hardly imagine that he would have. But I think he endowed Holmes with that as well. You see, what is fascinating is that that dear gentle man created these two people, and therefore I do think they're two halves of the same pod.